As was mentioned earlier on this morning, both by Paul and John, I'm obviously very pleased to announce in the last couple of weeks we've launched the two architecture white papers. And we have a third in the works, which is healthcare. And again, we're aiming, a similar aim to the current two architectures. As much as anything else, it's trying to take that more overview look of the kind of both business, organisational and security and privacy requirements around these types of deployments. So very quickly, we're a little bit tight of time, so I'm going to really just go for the headlines. Who's the enterprise one intended for? So very much CXOs, IoT purchasers, obviously IT departments, fairly self-evident, but also, very much the goal in here is to really start helping developers and product managers understand the kind of requirements that they should be thinking about for going for a hub type architecture in the enterprise. It's probably worth pointing out that when we use the term hub, we aren't referring to a specific device in the enterprise, but far more hub as in the type of overall architecture. And one of the things that gets covered in this particular document is the kind of important the key components that need to be in that architecture. So one of the first things very quickly was to look at simplifying some of the implementation options to really start to illustrate what a good regime looks like. So again, the focus on some of the roles, some of the processes that need to fit in around bringing IoT devices into the enterprise. Obviously showing the benefits of the approach. And in a similar vein with home, the audience is almost the same, but one of the key things you'll notice that's missing is consumers. So whereas enterprise will focus on the kind of end user, if you will, in the potential audience, one of the overwhelming points that we wanted to make in the home architecture is that most consumers neither should be expected or should really have to care too much about the security of their IoT devices. That should be managed for them. So hence they aren't in the audience for this, or at least the intended audience for this document. This is very much about the kind of things that IoT providers, developers, and again, product managers should be thinking about in terms of products that are intended for the home. So in a similar vein to enterprise, again, some of the thinking about some of the ways of simplifying some of the implementation options. Obviously, the really key one here, particularly with all the things we've talked about earlier, in terms of illustrating what a strong security regime in the home would look like. It's probably worth making the point that one of the biggest things that came out of this work was that the point that Tyson made this morning, which is interoperability is such an issue in this area. And this is, all right, there are some of the vendors who may not want to hear this, but if we really are to start maturing the consumer space, then having interoperability and having tools that allow automated deployment, that allow things like ensuring products are at the appropriate firmware version, then these are some of the threads that we've tried to pull out in this particular document. And obviously, ultimately, the kind of the benefits that go with the hub-based approach. Thank you.